Hey everyone, it's Book of Katherine, and we need to have another little chat. So for everyone who's a freedom fighter and is feeling discouraged, why don't we talk a little bit? So if you remember back in the 2016 election, let's remember what things were like in the 2016 election. I have watched so many of those videos I can't even begin to describe, like so many of those videos. Let's remember back, shall we? Those videos, there's a million of them of the media and how they handled Donald Trump's election. Let's review some of them, shall we? There are compilations of how CNN cut off the feed of Trump supporters. So there was a black gentleman sitting with a white man at a Trump rally. And they were like, "What are you doing here, sir? There's actually a black man at a Trump rally. Let's go interview him." And the black man was like, "Yeah, I was just sitting here next to this white guy, and wow, like it's not what I expected. Like we really just need to come together. Like everyone's cool here, man." And they went to shake hands, and they started doing and they cut the feed. Okay? Anytime someone went, and they just have all these collections of all these news agencies throughout the election, once it went against the narrative or reported any real stats or any real news or facts that we've come to know are true, like, for example, like I was even watching the Jeanine Pirro versus Whoopi Goldberg. When did she say, and it's really funny, if you really listen to that interview, the one that just happened recently, you know, the girl says it, and we'll come back to the break and have Jeanine with us afterwards. And Jeanine literally goes, "I'm going to be back on the next segment." Like I thought I wasn't doing another segment. And so, like, Whoopi's like, "Bye." Like, it's like a total, like, fake throw her off. That's how they were going to end the segment. And, Jeanine wasn't even planning on being there for the next segment. She's like, "What are you talking about? We're doing another segment? Like, is there going to be another segment? I thought this was it." And then Whoopi's just like, "Bye." But she brings up sanctuary cities. And when did she buy it? When Janine's like, you know, because I'm learning, people do not know what sanctuary city statuses are. That's the question they end on. When they close it all is when Janine's like, "Well, they're killing in the street and they're letting them free." Everyone thinks sanctuary cities are about the women and the children. No, the sanctuary city laws are actually written about protecting the criminals and letting criminals go. No one knows that. No one knows that about sanctuary city statuses. And so they go cut the feed and they go to black. To let everyone know, that's the thing you're not allowed to talk about. Those are the things you're not allowed to talk about. It's always cut the feed, end it. Let me give you another example. 2016 election. Let's talk about actual election nights and how they handled the Trump election when he actually won. The View. Oh, we're back at The View. What happened when they saw that it was going to win? As they went to winning, what did they do? Joy Behar was like, "I'm out." And she actually, when she saw it was going to win, they didn't even finish broadcasting. Watch how they handle it on the View on the night of the broadcasting. They didn't expect him to win. They thought, it was early in the night. They didn't expect, watch the media. That's why there are so many collections of the media expecting a Hillary win and being shocked. That's why there's so many collections of watch the media melt down, not expecting it, but always expecting it to come back, right? Always expecting it to come back because they truly believe, right? And when Behar hears that it's not going to be that win, just end the show. Just blank screen and just walks off, doesn't even finish the show. And the viewers are like, "What the heck?" Even the live audience members just were like, "What, are we ending the show?" You can find collection after collection of when the news actually arrives, the show ends, or it just ends, or coming up to the election, when a narrative arrives, what's the response? Cut the feed. That is and there is a reason you guys are scared to say Merry Christmas. And I was thinking about it after I filmed we were watching it as a group, we were talking about it, but I thought about it before I even hit the group with the bridal video that I just did. And if you didn't see about how to shop bridal like a boss, you can see that right here. But when I did that video, I was at the end, I was like, just say Merry Christmas, because most of us are not saying it out of fear. I realized they sure do want us to shop for Christmas. If it really offends us, if it really offends somebody, to say Merry Christmas, then why does everyone do Black Friday shopping? What the heck are we doing? Like, reality is that everyone's bombarding down Thanksgiving weekend. They have sales Thanksgiving week, Black Friday week. Who are we all shopping for? We're all doing Christmas gifts. Everyone's doing Christmas gifts, but nobody wants to hear the words Merry Christmas. Does that make sense? No. Clearly, everyone in the world is celebrating Merry Christmas, like everyone's actually buying Merry Christmas, but they don't actually want us to say the words Merry Christmas because they evoke the words happiness. They make you feel happy. And that doesn't benefit Big Pharma very well, does it? And Iran just arrested a bunch of Christians for trying to celebrate Christmas. It fits the UN agenda great, right? Because only in America do you get to celebrate Christmas freely. Other countries, name me another country other than maybe Europe, maybe not so much anymore, but name me other countries other than Western countries where you can freely practice Christmas openly. Nope. No. China, you get your crosses burned down. Nope, not so much. Not so much in socialist countries. Sorry. So it's to be celebrated, makes you feel good, right? So let's talk a little bit about just how much they don't want us saying certain things and how far they will go to let us know what we're allowed to talk about, what we're allowed to say, and how far they'll go to control the narrative. And boy, in the 2016 election, we saw it because it was a candidate the GOP didn't want, and it was a candidate that the DNC didn't want. That dossier that they funded was funded by both Clinton and it was funded by the other one, they were funded by both sides, that dossier. So great. Both sides did not want them there, right? Great. And so shut them down. Shut them down. So they didn't expect to win. They didn't expect to win. 99% surety. What are the other collections that we see? What are the other collections that we see? All the pundits just being like, well, he's not going to win. Everyone from George Clooney to Nancy Pelosi just being like, let's get it real. For 2 years, like, oh, you got to be kidding. All the way up to like, he's not even going to be left. Like, no chance, and low in the polls. And people seem to forget how low he was in the polls running up to the election. People seem to forget that. How low he was in the polls going up to the election. He was like this. All the pollsters said he was down here in the election. Did you all forget that? Did you all forget that all the polls said he was down here? The media told us he's down here in the election. But did any of you watch the little documentaries and the coverage they did on the pollsters that conduct these polls? Did any of you watch the pieces on those pollsters? It's like campaign headquarters for the Clintons. Like, the pollsters are literally, they're full-on lobbyists for the leftists. Like, they're full-on. Like, they like dressed, like open society and the whole thing. And they're just like, boom. Like, these aren't like, in the middle pollsters. And we just assume that, then all the pollsters, we didn't learn a thing. And we think all the pollsters are going to be correct the next election around. So then here comes the midterms. Everyone gets ready. We get all engaged. You guys get all excited. And then we come in. This comes in. The whole country is like, maybe we should be interested. Maybe there's something to think about here, right? Go into the election. We work our butts off. We do clean the GOP. There's a difference this time. Did you forget that in the 2016 election, no one in the media thought it was possible? Did you forget that night, not one of them, watch all the tapes. They all thought it was a joke. They thought he was down here in the polls. They believed their own media. Down here in the polls. None of them thought it was real. And the moment it dawned on them, people were pulling the plug again. This time, for the first time, let me tell you, they planned for the next election cycle the next day. They did documentaries on that. The next election begins the next day. Let me tell you, the next day they were like, oh my God, we could lose. All our campaigning, all of our astroturfing, all the thing, the people might actually vote against what we tell them to. We could actually lose the House. Because what you also seem to be forgetting, and this is what I really want to talk about, seriously, what I really want to talk about, I'm seeing doom and gloom out there from freedom fighters that are just like, man, nothing's changing. Man, nothing's changing. What are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? Like, what? Nothing's changing. Like, I really expected the whole country to change. And I'm like, it's been like 18 months. 18 months. You elected one person in a 3-branch government. And that one person entered a branch that has 3 million employees. And if you watched Can We Drain the Swamp right here by Kim Strassel, you would know how bad DC is. You put that one person in there and you're like, what? You expected the entire country to just, you thought all the swampers would just die? And then all new people would grow in that were like, you know, glow, and you just thought, oh, the Clintons would be prosecuted and this person would go to jail and all the borders would just magically grow up. You elected someone who said things that said, these are the things that I will these are the things that I will fight for you for. These are my values. This is what I will get for you. Right? And then they go in and they fight for that. But they have millions of people in DC, 50 million people working against them, and a media that will never tell you what they do. Let's give you an example. Let's examine the day that Kanye West was there. Did you know that morning Kid Rock was there? Did you know that? Mercy Me was there. Did you know that? Oh, a whole bunch of big names were there. A whole bunch of the Beach Boys were there. Did you know they were there? Do you know why they were there at the White House? They were there to sign the Music Modernization Act. Do you know what that is? Oh, let me tell you. Well, you're you're really aware of this. Do you know why it is that you can't send your phone to a local repair shop? You can take your shoes. You buy a pair of shoes. And when that shoe breaks and you break a heel off that shoe, you don't have to get a new pair of shoes. You can go to the cobbler on the main street. You can go to the cobbler. When we were dancers and we wanted to dance in a pair of tennis shoes, we just went to the guy that did shoes on the main street and we were like, here, suede them for $20. And you could turn any pair of shoes in a pair of dance shoes. So there, free dance tips for you guys who are dancers. You're welcome. Free private lesson. Have at it. So go into the cobbler, suede your shoes for $20. That's what you do. You buy a product and then you take it into a local repair shop. But oh no, not with the new Digital Software Act. No, they did an update. That's what they did. They did an update, right? Oh, all the congressmen got right on that for all the software companies. Oh, yes, they did a new Digital Rights Act, a Modernization Act, and then they protected all of that software. So if you get if you get an Apple phone, or if you get a computer, or if you get anything, you cannot do you can't even touch that thing. You can't hack it. You can't get that phone fixed unless you give it. That's why when your Apple screen breaks, you can't take it to the local computer repair shop and have them switch out another screen, which is what we've been doing in America with every product from the beginning of time. If you buy a horse, you get a horseshoe, the horseshoe breaks, you take it to the smithery, and the smithery fix the horseshoe. That's what you do. You don't have to go to the manufacturer of the shoe and say, here, you need to remake the shoe and have it, and I buy a whole new one. Oh no. But they got the congressman to say, hey, we want you to make a modernization act for the new digital age, to make for software. And they did. They copyrighted the software so hardcore that you literally can't do anything with your products, to the point that if you crack your Apple or if the battery runs out, what do you have to do? You have to buy a whole new phone. That's how much Congress locked it down. And how long ago did they do that? They did like 20 freaking years ago. Oh, they got down on that for Google. They did that for Google. They did that for Microsoft. Right. All the places that were funded by In-Q-Tel and the CIA. And, United Nations, of course. All the big people. All the investors. The people on top. They locked it down for them. Congress got, oh, but the artists, When you used to play a song on the radio, song goes on the radio, everyone gets paid for that. The songwriter gets paid for that. The star gets paid for that. The radio company gets paid for that. And so do the songwriters and everyone, the sound editors, everyone who wrote on that song gets paid for that. Digital comes out, and what happens? Whoa, Google gets to make all the money. That's why you hear will.i.am go say, yeah, we got 50 million views. I ain't seen no YouTube check. Do you remember that video? He's like, the music industry is dead. Do you remember that? He said, you have to change everything. The music industry is dead. Do you know why he said the music industry is dead? He said that because they didn't update the copyrights. They let digital music go out there, and they let Google make all the money. They let Spotify make all the money, and they let the record companies make all the money. And the rest of everybody lost it all. So Black Eyed Peas got to be played on all your digital things, and they didn't ever see another cent. So yeah, they'll get 1 billion views, but they won't see another red penny. Nope, not for all their work. Whereas right before the digital age, they always got paid for every play that happened. Oh yeah, they locked down on Napster. Oh, boom. Lockdown on Napster, boom. No sharing. Oh, Sue, put people in jail for that. But don't pay the artists. And how do the artists say? They say we want the same thing. We want the laws to carry over that were for the radio plays. We want it to carry over into the digital age. We want the same rights to carry over into the digital age. And they asked for it from George Bush, and they asked for it from Obama, but no, because the globalists are getting their money. Google's getting their money. No. And who gets it passed? And who's sitting there crying? The Beach Boys are crying. Who's sitting there saying, I'm so dang grateful? That's Kid Rock. But you'll never hear about them. No. Oh, and what did they pass just earlier that week? That's right, the Clean Oceans Act. The Clean Oceans Act, which does more than everything that the climate change people that have been meeting twice a year for 25 years now, done nothing. China has still been pumping out 1/4 of the Earth's pollution. So bad that the Grand Canyon, you can't see across it because their pollution is so bad, it's floating over into the Grand Canyon. That's what the World Trade did. We opened up the World Trade Agreement. Sent over so much business, but they don't have any regulations. So they just polluted everything so badly that now all of the West Coast has so much pollution that you can't even see anything in the national parks. No blue skies anymore. Nope. And even though all of the Paris Accords have been happening, all of these climate change accords have been happening, did you know that none of them are binding? None of them are binding. Not only that, but they want to spend $100 million of your tax money to lower CO2 emissions 0.003%. They just want your money. There's plenty of things you could do to make things much more environmentally friendly, but they're not doing any of them. Right. Who is? That's right. The Clean Oceans Act. Guess who just signed into? Donald Trump. Something like that happens every freaking day. And what are you guys saying? What are you guys saying? Are you watching the bills that are signed every day? Are you? No. You're reading your Twitter. You're reading the mainstream media. And you're going, nothing's happening. They're still flooding the border. I'm sorry. They're making tents in Tijuana. Tijuana's freaking pissed. Do you see floods coming over the border? Isn't that what you asked for? Isn't it? And you want better immigration policy. That's right. So who is in charge of that? That would be Congress, those other two branches of government, which you just fought for. And while I'm on the subject, if you want things to happen so fast, let me ask you a question. Sebastian Gorka just went over to the Restoration Weekend. And when he said, freedom fighters, what can you do? He said, we got to Washington and we were surrounded by no one. Where were you people, you big Trumpers who are out there screaming and saying that you want democracy and you want conservatism and you want to fight? Did you show up in D.C. to say, yeah, let's go do it? You want the swamp dead, but you sure don't want to be there to fill in the banks. Who do you think's going to do it? You think little daisies are going to crop up in the middle of nowhere? Are you signing up for Border Patrol? Are you signing up for the FBI? Are you signing up, or do you just like bitching and moaning? I am seriously asking you, because you sure want a lot of people to sacrifice. You sure want a lot of people to sacrifice, but you sure don't want to go anywhere from your keyboard. I really don't want to hear it. If you are a freedom fighter, if you are putting out the flyers, if you're educating people on climate change, I swear to heavens above, that is the number one thing you got to do, because that is the key to Agenda 21. And if I'm doing anything on my project, I am learning how deeply Agenda 21 grows. In my own town, I have learned about 4 churches now. 4 churches in my own town. I found out about that other chick who emailed me, and I found about those churches. I was like, I wonder if anything like that in my town. I found 4 churches in my town. 4 churches in my town that are pure 100%. And then I go into my ballroom studio to teach my private lesson, and boom, it's like Town 2020 for the diet we're supposed to eat. And I realized that's the diet that when I went into my doctor's office was everything that would kill you. And I remember getting so upset because I was like, the diet was literally like, eat 10 servings of carbs. And I was like, the government literally just ruled that that will kill you. Like the government, the FDA and everything just retracted all that and said we were wrong. That will kill you. Why is that sitting in my doctor's office? And I come to find out that it's actually Health Program 2020. It's pure Agenda 21, and it's sitting in my ballroom. You going out in your towns and swiping all those flyers? Are you noticing all the little meetings that aren't happening in homes, but are happening in little business parks in the middle of the night? Are you noticing that all of a sudden, all of the little drive-ins are worked by only girls? Where did all the boys go? They're not playing video games. Did you notice that on Sundays, certain churches are suddenly filled, but they won't talk about what's happening on the church services? Oh, no. They won't tell you if they say it's an amazing church, but they won't tell you what happens at services. Isn't that interesting? They will tell you absolutely nothing. And they will talk to you and your kids, but they won't talk to your husband. So fascinating. But they've all got one thing in common. They all talk about, I'll go into that in my project. You guys, government does not change overnight. You heard a promise from a presidential candidate of what they would do while they were in office. They didn't promise it in their first year. They promised it while in office. And have they done anything differently? You're literally like the left going, but they haven't done this yet. They've done everything else they said. Name another president that's done that. I'm kind of in shock. Like the more research I've done of late, because I was so focused on the midterms, I wasn't really paying attention to them all that much. Like since my Never Trumper video, I really haven't been looking at anything that guy's done. And now I'm like, oh, I've been missing. I've been missing a lot. And now they'll have some support because when it came to election night, afterwards, this time they went in. Let me tell you, the day after the election, they went in going, holy crap, we can lose. We can lose. We can lose. This time they went into that night, they went into midterms and they had a plan. If the vote went the wrong way, what do you think it was? What do you think it was based? What does Dr. Phil say? The best prediction of future behavior is past relevant behavior. What is past relevant behavior? Past relevant behavior is how does the media act when the narrative doesn't go their way? Let me see. We all start voting, just like clean the GOP, not for GOP and not for this. What happened? What happened with the previous votes when it wasn't it? Yeah, you get the point. This time they were prepared. They knew they could actually lose. And I find it so interesting that even Sebastian Gorka said, we were all stunned that all the results were called at 10:30 at night. Sounds like a plug was pulled to me. When I hear your videos complaining, it sounds to me like you want to hear the leftist media change. You want to see that world change. That's never going to happen. Not going to happen. This world's going to change. The real world's going to change. And you know that's changing. People are getting jobs. People are less full of despair. People have more freedom to say things. They're less scared. They're able to start businesses again. Black businesses are up 400%. Are you saying you want to go back just because you're not seeing this whole new world within 18 months? Are you kidding? A presidency is 8 years, and here's the proof. Go back and look at what Reagan accomplished in the same 2 years. Go ahead and see what's in store and see why the Fed's freaking out. Because it's right about this time that the economy shot up to 7% in a few months. And this is when you're going to start despairing? Are you kidding? Let me ask you another question. How long did the Civil War take? How long did the abolitionists take to overrun slavery? How long did the women's vote take? Do you have any idea? How long did it take to defeat Hitler in World War II? Because quite frankly, that's what you're working against. If you compare the socialism of Lenin versus the socialism of Hitler, this kind of ideology is way closer to the socialism of Hitler. Do you want to know why? It was Hitler who promised a utopian society. That's what Hitler promised, a utopia. And he also targeted a very specific group of people in a takedown effort to achieve that utopia. And that would be conservatives, wouldn't it? That's their sport. Gives a lot of power to people, doesn't it? Cleanse the world of conservatives, and you get a utopia. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Act now or forever hold your peace. But for heaven's sake, stop complaining that things are not moving at the pace you want it to. This is a democracy and it's a government. It's not a video game. It's not popcorn. It doesn't just go ding, ding, ding. Oh, election happened. Poof. Did you see the FBI? You're like, oh, the Russian investigation is still going on. And I'm like, really? Let me see. How many sealed indictments are there going on? Are you looking at what's being covered up that the news isn't reporting on? Let's see. What if the media was completely conservative? What would they cover? Maybe they cover the 1,700 indictments that are going on by the department. Because Jeff Sessions only stepped down from one investigation. He didn't step down from them all. Are you looking at any of those? Is there a reason why so many people in media, Hollywood, everywhere are resigning from their jobs? You didn't think that was a little bit odd? Ton, you think no one's going down? That's because you're choosing to read the front page and you're choosing not to go behind. And yet that's the only reason you elected this president is because you went behind. So ball up. It takes time. This is not virtual reality where you get to press a button and everything goes poof. It takes time. It takes time and it takes energy. And I'm sorry, except that the road is fun. And it is a game in a way. It is like chess. You do have opponents. You do have to learn them. And if you start approaching it that way, maybe you'll start enjoying it. Maybe if you go to state DC and you actually start going, they're an opponent in a video game, and I want to learn their skills. What tricks are in their bag? What do they use? What are their lying techniques? What do they do to charm? What are all these things? And then how do I avoid? And how do I get around? And how do I play the game to make the agenda I want to have happen? To protect the freedoms of the people in my country. Are you joking? People are like, what are we fighting for? And I'm like, democracy, period. Democracy, your voice to still be heard. Because here's one thing I'm going to really point out to you. Yes, a lot of people. I said right after the election, they were like, oh, all these revotes and recounts are going to happen. And I told you, I said they're all going to end up being exactly what they were announced that night. And oh, wouldn't you know it, they were. They just did that to make you think something was compromised, to make you think, oh, it's not how it was announced. Heck yeah, it was. Heck yeah, it was. Right? The early ones, remember the early in the voting when the real votes were announced? No, they just didn't want you to trust any of the early things. Heck yeah. Real Republicans, real big wins. You don't think, I just think it's amazing. And then all the voter fraud, they were caught beforehand. They were caught beforehand because you were out there. You had a big win that night, a big, huge, successful win. And I would think that you'd be riding high and out there and running for elections and being on a high about it and going to DC and going to your capitals or going to your mayor's office and seeing what's happening and helping out, because there are some people who are like staying in their office and like they don't want to go and help rip them out of their office already. Like help clean them out. Dang, get involved. You started it, finish it. But don't sit there and say, it's 18 months and just nothing's... No. Like, your media is going to make it sound as bad as possible, just like they want you to buy everything for Christmas, but they don't want you to be happy about Christmas. So I'm going to say it again. Like, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas! Ho, ho, ho! I'm going to do the whole 9 yards because it's Christmas and I'm going to be happy about it. I'm going to celebrate it. I'm going to celebrate it big time. And I have my new tree over there that I have a million guardrails around because Siberius wants to eat it and I will not let him. So now it has a huge fence around it. It has a wall. Ha ha ha. And it's successful. Yes. But I'm keeping it. I'm celebrating Christmas this year. Like, we're going to keep that tree. Frickin' heck, yes, we are. And we're going to find a star and we're going to stick it on the top of it. And we're going to have a great, jolly, good time. Because I don't think death to America. I think yay to happy. And you guys did an amazing job and you should feel good about it. But go ahead and follow through. Forget this whole thing of like, oh, like things are going down. They want you. They're going to rain on this Christmas more than ever. And do you know why they're going to rain on this Christmas more than ever? Because there's a trade war on. And for the first time, China won't make all the bank it normally does. Don't you get that? Like, they want to punish you for making a huge midterm win and a huge presidential win against the United Nations for the first time in a huge long time. They're pissed. They just lost a lot of power and now they're losing a lot of money on a trade war in China and they want you to be miserable about it. So they're like, go ahead and buy what you can or whatever, but don't be happy while you do it. And so they're like they just had these kids in this school celebrate Medieval Day. They had them come dressed in costumes for Medieval Day. That's during the Dark Ages. And I'm like, they're celebrating Dark Ages in December? And I just got finally all these things popped up on my feed about the vaccines. And I was like, I've been looking for this research forever. Why am I suddenly getting it on my phone? Yay, this is so dismal. Like, this research is awful and dismal. And I was like, oh, they're letting me find it in Christmas time. Wake up! Merry Christmas! Go out there, freedom fighters. You did a great job. You did a fantastic job. You should celebrate this Christmas. And then figure out what you're going to do to back up the people that you elected and go be an elected official yourself. Of course you should do that. Or be a Border Patrol agent. If you're really frustrated about illegal immigration, then why don't you freaking join? And stop letting other people do it. You do it. You really love the cops? And you're tired of bad cops making good cops look bad? You be a cop. Dang. All right. That's my rant. I'm tired. I'm worn out. Love you. Mwah. Please donate down below. Thank you for the donations. We are going to try and get some tinsel on the tree. I really, really appreciate that from my 2 videos ago or whatever. And yeah, if you can keep it up, and we're going to go and we have a trip planned to put those donations to good use on the tree. And just for we're going to do it. We're going to make sure that it happens. So, or pay for our girl to actually get our decorations out. One or the other, they'll be equal in money. I was like, I don't want to spend money on decorations, but it's also so expensive to hire someone to go up and get it into the attic or whatever. But either way, we'll end up with the decorations on the tree, even if it's the weekend before Christmas. We're going to do this. We're going to celebrate. Yeah, that looked really happy, didn't it? I'm like, we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate. Joy to the world. The Lord is that the lyric? Joy to the world, the Lord is come, and earth shall sing. And I can't sing, but do you remember, like when I was growing up, we still had carolers coming to the door, and I loved it. Do you know what I mean? And I don't even know where they came from, but carolers would come and they'd sing like Mary Wenceslas, but I can't sing. I don't know any of the songs anymore, but like Goodman Wenceslas came, and they were just all sorts of crazy songs or whatever. It wasn't about any sort of, it was just about being happy. It was just about, and it just made you feel good. And that's the same reason that I did October movies, because when I was a kid, everyone in the neighborhood went out. There were none of those Harvest Festival things where people got slotted off here and slotted off here. Everyone went out and everyone was full of such joy. Like there was so much joy in the neighborhood. Everyone was full of such joy and exuberance and celebration. Everyone was so happy and just all excited. And it felt kind of like Christmas. Everyone was just happy. And, but it was only that night. Like it wasn't like now where we celebrate all month. It was just that night. All of a sudden, everyone just went pow and just suddenly went nuts. And then everyone just expressed themselves and got gooeyed up and everything like that. And you could be or whatever. And I was like Egyptian and stuff. And I did all these crazy things or whatever. And I got to, and I loved it. It was like your one day of dress up where you got to be really, well, for me, it was my one day of dress up a year or whatever. And I just loved that. And it was just such a special thing of celebration with everyone, and you got to be out and all the neighborhood's kids, and it would just be like a ton of kids in the neighborhood. There was joy in that. There was nothing dark or negative. It was so bright and cheery and family and everything, and I love that. And Christmas was the same thing, and I think those were our community moments as Americans, and we're losing that. And I want to celebrate it as much as I can, like instead of us going off into our corners being scared of each other. I think these are the things that we share. We're all celebrating this holiday so we can share it, acknowledge that we're all sharing it. We're all celebrating it with our families. So again, Merry Christmas. And I can't think of another song, but I love you. Bye.